Thank you all. Thank you for coming. You saw the students' presentation, and I'll be providing you from perspective of the academic. I've been running this for now 50 the Global Studio, and the Global Studio is a virtual studio that we collaboratively work with other partners, as was done in the previous presentation. So the first I will use the case study between the Northumbria and the Intel in Portland and Oregon, and I'll outline so you have a context what we've done. So the context is that the information we've been exchanging are not just text information, they are actually rich media such as the storyboards, and this for example was about exploring how computers can actually enable and help firefighters to, before they get to the scene, they can actually find out more information about the building, how to get into the exits into the building and so on. So you can imagine, so this type of information to share in secure information is somewhat different from if you're sharing, for example, text documents. We also need to share information about the models and products and how they might be used by users. So it's, again, information is much richer in terms of what you need to exchange, and much more difficult in some aspects than you would do if you do only a text information. The second case study is between Ohio State University, Northumbria, Honig, and Motorola, which was the project about entertainment on the go. What we try to do through our projects is to have a platform or environment where the students from one university, academics, and students from other universities, as well as industry partners have a common platform that we can work together. Is anybody in the audience who are kind of conducting any projects with external partners? In the audience? One? Not many? Two? Three? Okay, have you done anybody else? Do you work in teamworks? With other people? Yes? No? Very quiet. Everybody's very quiet. This representation is very neat and tidy, isn't it? It doesn't hardly ever work that way. I'll provide you just with some context about what students had to say about when they work in the Global Studio. They realize, and as the students presented before, how difficult it is to actually communicate across countries. And you imagine, so they use actually social networking on a day-to-day basis, but they use the social networking on very different reasons as if you would be running a project. So, as you can see from these quotes, they actually sort of reflected on in terms of what they have learned and how they might be able to use it in the future. This shows you the messiness of the communication, and this is just between the Korea and England. So this is not even taking into account that you'll be working with the Ohio State University and so on. So you can actually see the messiness in terms of how many linkages you have. You have to take into account everybody else's perspectives and what they have to say. So that's the difference from this representation to here. And that's quite difficult. You also need to take into consideration about there's actually different reasons why would you use different tools for different purposes. So you can have teams where teams are at the same time, and they might communicate synchronously. They might be at different places but co-located. They might be distributed. And they come, so you have kind of 4 different places they can be. So again, different tools might be useful for different purposes. So not one tool might be useful for all of these 4. So what sort of tools have we used? We've used tools like even face-to-face, I would consider to be a communication tool. And text messages, emails, using, and I'll go through these tools to discuss what we find in terms of like cost, ease of use, and limitations of these tools. So, just to give you a context in terms of what we try to do is to work actually with students that is embedded in a curriculum. So actually there is a classes, it's part of the class where we have, in the Intel project, we had about 90 students working on the project. And as you can see to your left top corner, that's where the students actually are working together and teleconferencing with the staff. You can see here they have a laptop setup which they share the site with the Intel staff. Here we have an Intel staff actually in Portland, Oregon, looking at the same. They're looking at the same page that the students, but they're at different places. And here you can actually see, interestingly enough, Luke is showing on through Skype his model to us, a staff from Intel, what sort of model it might be. Here we have a situation where Nick actually came to Northumbria. He flew to Northumbria to work with students. We had an intensive 2 days workshops, and he worked with all the 80 students for those 2 days. And he's Nick with all the students. We took a shot. So you can actually see we use lots of different tools, not only online, but also face-to-face. So that's the face-to-face. What's the problem with the face-to-face? One, the cost is enormous. If you fly people around our place, it's quite expensive. However, it's very effective and efficient in terms of actually you can do lots of things in face-to-face. That's why we are all here. Okay, we could have done this online, but I think there's lots of other things we can actually accomplish when we are face-to-face. The limitation, as I said, flying 80 or 90 students to Portland, Oregon, quite difficult. Flying the staff from Intel to us, quite difficult too. But they've been able to accomplish that. And what Luke didn't tell you actually, there was 10 students actually flew to Portland to present the work at the headquarters. Now, Skype. Has anybody using Skype? Everybody, excellent. The cost is excellent. Ease of use, very good. The limitations. Limitations are, with the Skype, is the sound sometimes may drop off. For example, at our university, the Skype is available on wireless network only, and what it means is if we have 100 students in one studio space, they all have the computers, they're all connected to the internet, and they're all sharing that internet connection through wireless network, the Skype uses lots of bandwidth. And what it means is if you have a low bandwidth, you have a very poor communication. So if you look at here how we use the Skype, so this is the setup of one of the sessions, you can imagine so. We actually have a Skype on a computer, but we also have a teleconference at the same time. And the reason we actually use teleconference is because of the sound quality is much higher. And it's the companies that pay for the teleconference, they set up the bridge for the students. What it means also, if you do lose, for example, Skype, you can still be conducting the communication. If you lose your teleconference, you still have your Skype to communicate. You can look at the complexity of setting up some of these meetings. So you have a Skype, we have a teleconference, we have the project website. We also have a phone. So if you lose both teleconference, you lose the Skype, we can be still contacted. The problem is, there's which you cannot see, but I can draw it up. I need to have also my mobile phone, because at our university, after 5, I cannot call outside to overseas. So if I lose the contact Skype, I lose teleconference, and I want to contact a Nick in Portland, Oregon, only way I can do is to text him and say, look, all the computers are down, nothing is working. Can you bear with us for half an hour? In many instances, he would text us as well when he was holding traffic and he was late, 10 or 15 minutes. So this just gives you the complexity of setting up these meetings. So if you go back, so Skype is very good in all aspects, except you can actually, with the teleconferencing, can help. So if you have a link between Skype and teleconferencing, they can help each other. Video conferencing. Has anyone used video conferencing? I know you can do video stuff through Skype, but I mean by teleconferencing that you actually dedicated Polycom or other equipment that does the video conferencing. Hey, has anyone used it? How did you find it? So one of the problems with video conferencing is that many instances, A, they are very expensive. They cost, I think the cheapest one these days might be about £5,000. But they're not very good quality with £5,000. Secondly, generally, they will be locked up somewhere in a room at the university, and students would not be allowed to actually go and use it. So the problem is ease of use, not very good, because you can't access it. Secondly, the staff would need to actually be there, open the room, do the dialing, and in many instances you have to actually talk to technical staff maybe 1 week before to set up the linkage. Okay? How many of us, we have a time to actually set up linkages 1 week before, testing it out, relying on other people to come in, setting it up, and so on. So, even though we do have video conferencing at our university, other universities may not have video conferencing. So one of the things what we try to do is to enable our students that can communicate with other students and other staff anytime they want. They don't actually have to hopefully go through us and rely on us, the academics, to connect them with the other students or other staff. So, if you look at in terms of Jisc, have anyone used Jisc? Do you know what Jisc is? Anyone? Okay. Can you?
You can still send lots of large documents.
Okay. So one of the things, if you look at an email, one of the limitations for email is you can only send not very big files. So through Jisc, you can actually send files for free up to about 100 megabytes at once. The problem is, for the free Jisc, the link expires in 7 days. So what it means is that after 7 days, that file is gone. And as the students have discussed with you, it was very important for us to actually have an archive, a record of what they've been doing. It was very useful for them to actually come and look at it later on. And the same would apply for our collaborators. So Jisc might be very good as a temporary measure, but if you want to actually archive stuff, it will be quite difficult. They discussed Plon, and Plon is basically CMS software, which stands for, Jackie, can you help me please? CMS?
Content management system.
Excellent. Content management system.
I'm still awake.
So we have a content management system, and the reason we chose Plon to start with, which we were testing in the very first cycle of this project, was that we wanted to have one site for all of the students. And as they have described before, the ease of use was so-so. The limitation, however, with the Plon was because it was one site for all students. No, the students could not actually customize the interface. They could not customize how it looks and so on. So that was a bit of a problem. We also trial wiki pages. Has anybody used wiki pages? Just one person? Two? Okay, three? Is it easy? Do you love it? Do you like it?
I do. I find it incredibly tedious because you just need reams of.
So this is how it looks. If you want to edit the wiki pages, you know, if you're a nerd, you like the code, this is how it looks. So one of the things we got told was